What's up, you guys? It's Flash from Beatbox, and it's been forever since I've done a tutorial, but I'm actually going to go through this one, and this series of tutorials actually will be all about throat bass. I know you guys who like dubstep, and you know, we all like our bass and bass heads. But anyway, so the first one I promised was the Slizzer tutorial, and I'm going to start with that one, and that bass is specifically, this is the one that sounds like this. And I can go high too. But anyway, on to this tutorial. So, I'm going to kind of go through this pretty quickly. Hopefully my brother doesn't get back while I'm filming this. But anyway, so, quick shortcut for some people who know how to do this. For those of you people who have heard Louis Armstrong, you know, he's like, see, trees of green, you know, that whole thing where you can, I don't know, rasp up your voice, I guess. It's the same thing. So if you're going like, you know, or you're doing the like Megatron voice, like, I'm Megatron, or I'll get you next time, gadget. If you're doing that, and I mean there are other ways to like make your voice raspy like that, but if you're doing it in that way, if you can do something that sounds like that and you can just speak normally, like, you're doing it. You just literally need to focus it. If you're able to do the whole Louis Armstrong thing, literally just go high with it, like what a wonderful. So if you knew that, you're already way farther than I started out. But basically, so for most throat basses, you would think that you have to focus low in your throat. They say like cough, you know, most tutorials would be like make an ass sound and like cough and go like oh. That's how I do a different bass. That's what I call a UK bass. But for this one, it's a little bit different. Instead of focusing low, and this is just coming from my personal experience of how I just learned it, but you want to focus instead of low, like near your Adam's apple, and like focusing low and like getting those really gritty tones, you want to focus almost to like the back of your throat. Like low would be like, but this one, it's more, you can feel it more in the back of your throat. I believe the technical term for what is vibrating in this one is, well, it's always your rhythmoids, but also your epiglottis. I did a project on this, but I'd have to research my stuff. But anyway, so if you can do the, like, Louis Armstrong, that whole thing, you can already do one of the kind of basses. It's not actually the same way that Korean Effects does it, but if you guys have seen the video of Emperor Mike, him versus Bob Lee, he goes, I rip the mic until the tune decays. It's not really the same way, but I mean it's a different kind of bass. It's just kind of like a lower high bass, if that makes any sense, because when you go high, you want to be loose, and when you go low, you actually want to be tight, which is kind of backwards if you think about it. Anyway, enough rambling. To do this bass, you want to take that loose and vibrating tones that you have in the back there, and to get those, by the way, you just focus. It's almost like you're opening your throat like way in the back. Like focus on opening your throat way in the back of your throat as opposed to the lower part. Almost like near, if you can kind of sense or feel where, you know, your nasal passage comes into your comes down to your esophagus, like where, because you know your nose and your mouth are actually connected. For those of you who don't know, it's kind of, if you could sense where those two connect. Anyway, so if you can take those that loose feeling and go, what you want to do is you almost want to like really tighten up your throat in the very back, not low, because if you tighten it low, it goes like. But if you tighten it in the back, it sounds more like. And this bass, by the way, about pain and such. Most throat bass tutorials will say that your throat will hurt when you practice your throat bass, and that is true. My first throat bass, which is just crap, and I'm not even going to try to teach you guys that one. It's just air. For these throat basses, your throat will probably hurt. I don't use the Slizzer Bass very much, as you can see in maybe some of my videos. I really don't use it that much, and it still hurts me a bit, like when I do it for long periods. I mean, it doesn't really hurt, it just gets a little bit sore. When I was first doing the UK bass, like, it was not that clean, and it did make my throat quite sore. And the only disclaimer with this one is, when you're doing like, it's a different type of tensing, and not gonna lie, if you push it, if you get it kind of in a specific spot, or you go for a bit too long, or some sort of factor in it, you may gag. It happened to me earlier today. It will make your eyes water. It's not that bad. Don't push yourself. That goes for pretty much anything. You know, if it hurts, stop that. It's not a good thing. I mean, it does probably mean you're doing the right thing, but you know, you have to build up a tolerance. You have to build up your scar tissue in your throat, which is how you get the really low tones, and you get a cleaner bass or a dirtier bass, depending. But anyway, so out of the way with that. So you have to take like I said, you have to take the very loose tones up, and you want to focus on tightening your throat. Like you'll feel like your throat. It's almost like when you're getting those loose tones, like you feel like you're almost opening your throat more, and you're going, and it just feels like you're trying to open. But at this point, you have to take control of those specific muscles in the back of your throat, and you have to try and close them, and that's how you get a solid tone, which is why you get the specific bass instead of the wobbly high bass. And when you slowly go from from like loose to tight, it'll sound like this. And this bass, because of the very tight arrangement of your throat, the air is not it's not very airy. The air coming out of your throat is very streamlined, and that's why Slizzer just does these crazy wobbles and really, really fast wobbling. Just like, I can't do that with my other bass. Like, it'll sound different and maybe less clean because it'll be like, you get the air in your cheeks, so that helps. This is a completely different kind. It's more of a different. It's a different kind of throat bass. But anyway, so a good example of this, if you. A good example to listen of the spectrum of Slizzer's throat bass is watch Slizzer's battle, I believe 2010 Emperor of Mike versus Dome. He's like, get down with your bad self like this. Like that. He's been doing it for, I don't know how long he's been beatboxing, but he's been doing that bass. Everybody knows that as his bass because it's just very unique. It's very controllable. It's a very controllable bass because sometimes when people do the throat bass, they kind of get stuck on a tone. They use their mouth only to control how the bass sounds. But with this one, you actually use more so of your voice, like. And it seems like it's more connected towards your vocal cords. It seems like it has more interaction. What else about this bass? I would recommend learning how to do the loose part first, because that's what I started with. I just started going, and high bass is very cool, you know. People always ask me how to do that. You can also practice a bit by, instead of going high, like, to take it a bit lower and like relax and make it more loose and more vibrating, I guess. And you can go the, so you can kind of do what Korean Effects does, the, and Is there anything else about this bass? I would just recommend taking, when you go to the actual bass part, take that slow. That still makes my throat sore. Throat basses are not easy to explain. I mean, if I had the scope that goes down my throat, that wouldn't really help because you couldn't see it. But basically, just an overview. Focus on the loose tones and speaking like Louis Armstrong, you know? What a wonderful world. Focus on getting those loose parts. It's going to feel more in the back and upper part of your throat. So, like, if I feel my UK bass like this, I feel it right around my Adam's apple, which makes sense, I guess. This one, it feels more like it's in the back. Like, oh, here's a good example. If you've ever had, like, a sore throat, you kind of feel it in, like, the upper back part of your throat. It kind of feels like the soft part of your throat, like the soft palate. Of course, I don't think that's actually the soft palate. Basically, you'll feel it there. It'll feel like you have a sore throat after a little while. And hopefully you don't actually have a sore throat, but if you can just get the whole or speak like Megatron or the Claw from Inspector Gadget, you've got the idea. Just and also you can use that for chest bass, whatever you want to call it, hollow bass, chest bass, whatever. Like people use that all the time for like trap or whatever. Like and just focus on getting those loose tones, because that's the first and the easiest part. Just and if you can only get that, I mean, you're already pretty close. The actual bass part is difficult, because I've seen a lot of people who just like say, I can't get my throat bass. It sounds like literally you just have to close your, like, clamp your throat just very tight and get the single tone out. Just and this bass can go through your nose as well. So if you're like Slizzer told me though he never does that. In one of my videos where he's beatboxing with Darnie, he says, I never go through the nose. That's just what he's not accustomed to that. But even though it's not it really isn't the most powerful bass, but it can be a good bass for like a dubstep or just any sort of melody. And I guess that's it. I'll let you know if I have any other tips for it, and message me if you have any questions. On to the next one.